Everyone, welcome to Freedom Circuit on 1732 streaming. I'm JK. Give us a like and follow if you don't mind on Rumble so we can go ahead and start building this platform. I really want to start engaging with you guys a little bit more. Chat's open right now, and drop some comments if you go back and watch this video. We're on Rumble at 1732 streaming, and we're on Twitch at JK1732A, and we're on YouTube at 1732 streaming. But yeah, anyway, so we're going to go over a couple of updates tonight, especially if you see the title, We Are Charlie. So I want to talk a little bit about the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Of course, over there in the bottom left-hand corner, I've changed things up a little bit. You have the news going, so if anything breaks, we can talk about it. So Charlie Kirk's memorial service, I watched this early yesterday. I had the race going, and then I swapped over and started watching that, and I watched probably 90% of the entire memorial service, and it was amazing. The speakers were amazing, the music was amazing, and just the general tone of the service, and you can see some of it here in the bottom left-hand corner, was absolutely amazing. I was looking at some of the numbers today, and they said 200,000 people were in Arizona at the site, Glendale, Arizona. They had 73,000 inside of the State Farm Stadium where the Arizona Cardinals play, and then they had more in the other stadium. I don't quite remember what stadium it was, but like across the parking lot. But 200,000 people in Glendale, Arizona to attend this event. That is stunning. I can't even, that doesn't even compute. I mean, you're talking about a crowd larger than the Super Bowl. I mean, the Super Bowl has been held in that stadium. Standing room only. The capacity of that stadium, if my memory serves, is 60 or 63,000, but they got 73,000 in there because they had people in the field area as well. That just really shows how important this individual, Charlie Kirk, was to our movement, the conservative movement, preaching faith, love, and God, which, is a very good message to have. And, I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to feel a dynamic shift right now in the way that this country is going. That entire service was about God, family, freedom, and country. Zero negativity. Not that I would expect that there was. And, of course, I'm seeing some, CNN and all these guys are just dropping negative comments, and this was I heard earlier today on Louder with Crowder, they were speaking about another individual who's comparing it to a Nazi rally. I'm going to tell you something. I don't think the Nazis were preaching God, faith, freedom, and family. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, what they preaching forgiveness and all that good stuff. I mean, I don't think the Nazis came up and said, "Hey, we forgive the Jews." I don't think they did that. So that's an idiotic comparison, and it just, I don't understand it. I don't know why somebody would make that comparison. It was very much a revival in a church service, is what it was. Insanely peaceful. I'm sorry, amazingly peaceful is what I should say. And it was great. And, a lot of the speakers that were there, JD Vance, he was on point, man. It was a fantastic speech. I highly recommend y'all go back and watch some of these speeches that were made by JD Vance. Donald Trump was absolutely amazing as usual, when he speaks. And then Erica Kirk, that is obviously the highlight. She was absolutely amazing. We can all hope that we have a wife like that if we pass too early in our lives, because she was just phenomenal. All she did was preach about her love for Charlie Kirk, her love for her family, her love for God, and how we should all, be together and preach the word. And, she also, one thing that just blew my mind was, she made the comment, and forgive me if I'm a little off, but she said something, that young man, I forgive him. And the stadium erupted in cheers. And she said, I forgive him because that's what Jesus would have wanted. And that's what Charlie would have wanted. Well, guys, I'm going to tell you, she's obviously got a better heart than I do, because I do not know that I could say something like that. I don't, God, I hope my faith is that strong. I really do. But say that, after if somebody were to murder my family or close friends. Um, but yeah, it was just absolutely great. I think you guys should go back and watch some of that if you can, especially the highlights if you can. Definitely watch Erica's speech. For those of you that know me, I am really not a man of emotion. I do not cry hardly for anything. Very, very, very few things. My wife's even made the comment. She's been with me 15 years and she's seen me cry like 2 or 3 times. And it was related to her being in the hospital, my son being born, and when my grandfather passed away. Um, so I almost teared up on that. So that'll tell you. I mean, it's not really it's a tearjerker, right, when she's talking, but it's also a message of hope and love is all it is. And if anybody is saying otherwise, you absolutely should not listen to them and go back and watch it for yourself. That's the main thing we need to do as conservatives is go back and make our own assessment and look at the research and look at the videos ourselves before we, listen to anybody else. That's what I do. Don't take my word for it. If you're watching me, don't take my word for it. Go back and look at it yourself. I don't have the resources to post, everything that I find, but, it's not hard to find. Truth be told, I am no expert researcher by any means. So I have faith that you can do that as well. Where do we go from here? Well, I don't know where we go from here, but I think that the where we go from here is, we continue the fight, and the left, and there's, I don't even understand this, but they're saying, that this individual was not of the left or politically, he was not affiliated with anybody. That may be. He might not be a registered Republican or a registered Democrat or whatever, but his lifestyle, his rhetoric, the findings so far, they point to only one thing, that he was on the left, and he was obviously a dangerous individual. So if you think otherwise, I'm sorry, man. I can't help you. You're just stupid. It is what it is, I guess, at the end of the day. Drop some comments, guys, on how you feel about that update there, and any thoughts you may have. If any of y'all saw the um, the memorial service, I really want to hear from you. It was really good. It was really good. And hey, if you're on the left side, what do you think about it? I'm curious to see what your thoughts are. Are you lining up with the rest of your people saying that it was similar to a Nazi um, convention, or a Nazi speech? I don't know. Let's talk. Let's see. I really want to see what you have to say about that. And if you think, is it just the media saying that, or do all y'all actually believe that? Let me know. I really appreciate it. So let's move on from there. Let's go to another big announcement that took place today. Donald Trump and RFK came on today, and they had a big announcement about autism. Obviously, autism has been on the rise uh, astronomically over the last 40 years or so. And, I have a nephew who's autistic. So, this kind of means something to me. Um, Now, I'm not going to say this, what they brought up today is related. It very, it may or may not be. But they have found that Tylenol, acetaminophen, is could be a major risk factor for autism with pregnant women. They didn't say much else as far as age groups or anything like that, but they emphasized pregnant women quite a bit. That pregnant women should not be taking this unless it's essentially life-saving measures. That there might be a heavy link between acetaminophen, Tylenol, and autism. I'm in the medical field. I'm a first responder. I've worked on an ambulance for 22 years now. Tylenol is one of the things that we do as first responders is we always ask what kind of medications you're taking. And a large portion of the people I talk to, Tylenol, over the counter Tylenol. They use it for pain relief, fever reducer, whatever the case may be. So Yeah, and the question is, where do we go, from there? What's going to be there for minor pain control? Because for pregnant women, because ibuprofen is also not recommended for pregnant women as far as uh, medications over the counter go. So, what's the solution? There's going to have to be something there for them. Um, Obviously, through the ages, they didn't have those things, and women still carried pregnancy and dealt with it. But we're in a much more advanced society now, so there's got to be something out there. Drop some comments on what you think about that too, because some of the comments I see in Facebook of acquaintance of mine, he made a, obviously he's a leftist. He made a comment, if you believe, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of, if you believe a Cheeto and whatever slur he had for RFK, telling you what to do with your health care, then I can't help you. Well, my question to those types of individual, I want you to think to yourself, if Joe Biden came out and said, don't take Tylenol because it can cause autism if you're a pregnant female, would you believe him, or would you be saying the same things you're saying right now just because it's the Trump administration? I happened to watch this press conference. I, heard from some of the doctors that were a part of this, and there's a lot of research online. So, do you believe the science or do you not believe the science? I'm just curious. Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing, and if you are ignoring science just because you don't like Trump, man, I'm sorry, you're doomed. And hey, if you don't believe Trump, keep taking Tylenol while you're pregnant and end up with an autistic child. Sorry, I can't help you there. And maybe if you end up with an autistic child, you'll see the light at that point, and of course, it'll be too late by then, and that'll be on you. Um, but they also spoke about vaccines, childhood vaccines. MMR was one of them that they were speaking about, um, and they were saying that separately, MMR taken separately over the course of years, it's good. Nothing wrong with that. They emphasize nothing wrong with that. MMR together in one vaccine is can also be linked to autism and health issues. So they're encouraging the doctors to spread that out now, and I agree with that. I don't know that loading up a child at a very early age with all these vaccines is necessarily a good thing. I personally, me and my wife did actually, Madam JK, we did kind of spread some stuff out, and it just kind of worked that way. We didn't really plan it or talk about it. They did spread it out. So, and that's what we chose to do. I highly recommend you speak to your healthcare professional, but what is the link? What is causing this huge leap in autism? I know autism goes back probably as far back as humankind goes, or, a long, long time. But the reality is, and yes, I understand there's going to be people with the arguments, oh, the population is higher and stuff like that. Yes, but the rise in percentage is much higher than it has ever been, and we have to figure out what is changing that. And one of the major things that's occurred in modern times is the introduction of vaccines. Now, I am not a vaccine denier. Please do not take it that way. I totally believe in certain vaccines. I mean, hey, polio is not around for a reason in the United States. Well, in large part. So I'm not a denier, but there are other things that need to be looked at and see if this is the cause of autism and medical conditions. We have the most unhealthiest children in modern times here in the United States. If you go back, 30, 40, 50 years, that wasn't the case. So what has changed? And, again, one of the things that's changed is our vaccines and how much we're giving children at an early age. Now, again, I'm sure there are tons of other factors, and I'm not saying that is the sole factor, but what I am saying is there needs to be a better look at it. I'm not a scientist. I am not a doctor, but I do believe that, it should be heavily researched, and it seems like that's what's happening, and I couldn't be happier. If we can reduce autism even by a small percentage, that's a win. What does the left say? If it saves one life, when they talk about guns, if it saves one life, well, all right, guys, time for you to live by what you say. If it saves one life, don't take Tylenol. while you're pregnant. So, but yeah, I thought that was very interesting. And again, I highly recommend that you go through and maybe watch that conference as well. And again, make your own assessment, guys. Don't take my word for it. Don't just sit here because I said it. Now, obviously, I don't have a ton of followers or anything like that. I'm not popular by any means. You should never take anybody at their word. You should always go research for yourself and, come to your own conclusions and just read the facts. So, but yeah, absolutely. And do me a favor, guys, if you don't mind. Sorry, I'm still messing with this thing. Drop some comments so I can keep up with you guys. Let me know what topics we should be discussing going further. I'd really appreciate it. And also, don't forget to like and follow. Follow us on Rumble at 1732 Streaming. Follow us on Twitch, JK1732A. And follow us on YouTube at 1732 Streaming. I'm really trying to grow those platforms. And I really do want to start engaging with you guys. I think that, like Charlie Kirk said, if we don't talk, then violence happens, as we clearly saw. So, in my small way, I just want to go ahead and open up that conversation. So, drop some comments, drop some chats. For those of you that do know me and are supporting me, I really appreciate it. I really do. Give me some ideas too, guys. And hey, if you want to get on board and talk with me on some of these shows, I mean, there's a lot of us that have a wide range of expertise of people, even I know. Even if it's a dissenting opinion, I'd like to, you know, talk and, get you on here and we can have a discussion as well. But yeah, all right, guys. Well, short little podcast tonight. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys next time. Tomorrow, I'm going to probably do a Fortnite stream. I'm gonna try to get my brother to join me. But yeah, you have a good one, guys. Peace.